Hello everyone, happy Wednesday and welcome to another Adobe Live here in the UK. You'll find us every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during the week, so welcome. Now if you're watching on YouTube, that's fine, but you won't be able to get involved in the chat with our fabulous community, so go ahead and come along and join us on behance.net/Adobe Live and you can get involved from there with myself and our fabulous guest who is again for book club, Sarah Coleman. Hey Sarah, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. I'm all right.
Glad to hear it.
I've got coffee and grapes, so we're set.
Coffee and grapes, is that how it rolls? Is it?
It is on a Wednesday.
I love it. Oh, okay, nice. I like it. I like day organisations. Very good. Oh, great stuff. Right, well, we'll find out more about what you're going to be doing with us today on this book club. But first of all, let's check out who we've got in the community. Kirsty first in today. Hi, Kirsty. And Sean, guten Tag. And Andreas, guten Tag. Now we've got Galana. We've got Michelle in here. We've got, I've already said Sean, I think. Let's have a look. Oh, I'm scrolling through very quickly. We've got Jack. Hey, Jack. We've got Oliver. Hey, Oliver. No sign of Angus yet. He's probably busy using his... Oh, there he is. Actually, Angus with his last week's prize of CC subscription for a year. Nice one. Well done again, Angus. Yeah, all the usual suspects in here. So don't forget, that's where you can drop in your questions, people. Pop them in the chat here on behance.net/Adobe Live. So, Sarah, first of all, for that people who've never seen you before, we ought to just have a moment just to find out a bit more about who you are and then what you're going to be doing with us today. So over to you.
Oh, okay. I'm Sarah and I draw pictures for a living, which means I draw images for advertising, editorial, design, music, art for art's sake, as well as book covers. And the reason I'm here today doing things live for Adobe is because I've done an awful lot of book covers over the years. And if I was to top them up, I did a recent tot up for the purposes of today. And we're up to about 900 books now that I've worked on.
Wow.
And that means covers, it means covers back front, covers back, it can mean just the inside of the book, just an illustrated book, or it can mean all of those things. And as shockingly high a figure as that is, there are still loads of books I haven't illustrated that I'd like to do, as well as at some point, maybe even create my own, but we'll see about that.
Ooh. That would be exciting.
Yeah,
that would be exciting. I think which is it you're in today? Is it the Washington Post or the New York Times? I caught that earlier.
It's Washington Post. Yeah. No, Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal.
There you go.
Did a review of the latest book that I've worked on.
Yeah, something. If you dare. No. Just remind me. What's it? Is it If You Dare?
Tony, you know I've got it just here. You know I've got it right by me. It's Only If You Dare.
Only If You Dare. There we go.
Yeah, 13 stories of darkness and doom, and it's written by American author Josh Allen, and I've done the cover, which glows in the dark, of course, and I've also done the pictures inside, and I will find you an example of that one. So things like...
I like the butterfly. I think that's amazing. Yes. Yeah, I like that one too.
But actually that way, hiding under the bedclothes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and another example, my favourite one in the whole book, which is the haunted Dolly who's been cracked into pieces.
That's so creepy.
And she appears wherever she's least wanted. So Yeah, so that came out a couple of weeks ago, and that was what the Wall Street Journal reviewed over the weekend. Gave it a cracking review, which we're both absolutely delighted about. Yeah,
I read it earlier, and I've got one of your pins here, by the way, in a related.
Ah, you have?
Thing.
Yes,
glow
there
in
you
the
go.
dark pin.
Yeah,
they arrived yesterday. Thank you very much.
Where are you going to put it? Beanie
on my leather jacket. On my
Okay.
leather jacket. My leather jacket is covered in pins, but covered in pins. So yeah, I look like a 19-year-old again in it. Just bigger with grey hair. Anyway, moving on. So, well, I'll tell you what. We'll have to have when you've done your 1,000th book, and in fact, Angus has just said. I think in the chat. Angus was saying that the 1,000th book could be your own book. That would be amazing.
Now that is actually something to aim for. There's nothing quite like a deadline or a goal in that way to kind of make you do it. And I know we're actually up over 900 easily. I think it's actually something like 930 now. But so we could make the rule that I have to have done my own book by the time we hit 1,000. There's the deadline.
Yeah, that's good. And actually, that works for me as well, because I've been working on a Halloween book for years.
Have you?
Actually, yeah, I have. And I ought to finish it. So maybe I should finish mine before yours.
But you've got the hardest bit done. The hardest bit is actually starting. The hardest bit is starting it off, I think. There's nothing like the tyranny of the white page, the blank canvas to kind of off starting something. Yeah. You're ahead of me.
Yeah. Only slightly though, because it's a passion project, so I can only work on it in my spare time, and unfortunately there's very, very little of that around at the moment. But
hey,
it'll be better in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I'll enjoy Halloween, then I'll be all Halloweened up and go and do some stuff. So there you go. Anyway, right, I suppose we ought to hand over to your project then and take a look, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, okay. So the theme for this weekend, the talk next week, is historical eras in books. And obviously that is a bewilderingly large canvas. We could go anywhere with that. But I thought, given the impending season and an era that I'm particularly interested in, we would look at the late 1800s to sort of early 1900s in publishing. And one of the reasons I'm particularly keen on that is I have a big collection of antique books. Some are worth reading, some are not worth reading. Some are ridiculous, like 5 copies of Robert Browning's poems, which nobody needs. But they're all kept for reasons like this. I mean, this is an example of an 1800s, mid to late 1800s published book. This is a German one. But the attention to detail on these books is amazing, because books were precious objects, they were expensive to produce, and they were given as gifts, and they were designed to be kept. They weren't really throwaway items. So I'll just show you some close-ups of some of these beautiful books in the collection that have been the inspiration for today's show. So things like this is a very humble book, a souvenir of Southampton, late 1800s to early 1900s publishing, and perhaps a little bit further on than that, was all about the decoration and what they could do with the cover. We didn't yet have photographs, full colour covers weren't a thing yet. Certainly the paperback wasn't thought of. So the idea of this foil blocked and very ornate lettering, together with these beautiful edgings and leather or paper or canvas bindings, is really what attracts me to these books. This book is pretty old. Gorgeous. I have the real thing sitting right here. It's an unusual shape as well. And actually all it is a souvenir of the town. It isn't even anything dramatic, but there's a lot of effort gone into it. So we look at books like this, which are the inspiration for today, and we can see how there's a lot of emphasis on the borders and the centralizing of a motif, and doing as much as the designer possibly could with the lettering that was at their disposal. So, we've got this beautiful type here, as well as these heavily debossed leather covers. Some of the detail is just awesome. When we consider, we remind ourselves that all of this would have been drawn with a pen by hand.
And carved.
Yes,
Yeah.
no digital assistance here
Yeah.
whatsoever. So this is another beauty on the bookshelf, the pictorial record of remarkable events. And the book is that thick. And if we were to include the 20th to 21st century, that book would already have to be 4 to 5 times as fat.
Wow.
And again, the illustrations here sort of looking incredibly detailed and pushed into that leather or canvas binding. And again, such attention to detail on the type. The type is weird, it's idiosyncratic. We've got this really unusual letter M here, and then the strange tops on the A's, and this weird little kink on the end of the R.
That A, that's how A's used to be here up until the end of the Middle Ages.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a Nordic representation, I believe. If you look at any early texts, you'll find that the A's have a bar on top.
Who knew that? Mad. I mean, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It just, to me, it felt like the typographic artist is being a bit cheeky there. But he's or she, of course, probably he's harking back to history. And then even when you turn the book over on the back where really nobody sees it, we've still got this lovely debossed texture. And then just because it was there and it fits today's theme. This happened as I was preparing this talk today. The pencil got dropped on the floor and I looked back 2 seconds later to find this enormous spider grabbing
it because it's saying that's a Koh-i-Noor pencil and I'm having it.
It's actually a Ryman's HB, but
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So just to really kind of hold up there's nothing like holding the physical object in your hand, but again we've got I don't know if people can actually see that on the screen, but just to hold these items in the hand, there's something about them. We know that they've passed through human hands many times over and they've been read. The type is ludicrously small and in French actually making it doubly impenetrable for me. But it's we're not going to create anything quite like this today, but I am taking this whole vibe as my inspiration for today's book. And of course we see books like this with their warm bindings and the bits coming off them and the fading, and you tend to assume that that's how they've always looked without even thinking about it. You imagine that this book has always looked like this, but of course once upon a time it was brand new with bright red on the cover and pin sharp corners and no dirt and no scuff. So what we're actually doing today is trying to sort of gently simulate this look when the book was new on screen.
Nice.
So
well, the chat are enjoying that. They're saying lovely examples.
Good.
Sounds
good.
like I remember those letter A forms from my childhood. That's Vlad the Impaler.
Oh, really? This is obviously, here we go. This is the book that I'm tackling today. I've never done this book. I've never done anything to do with Dracula. And so I thought it would be fun to take this today and make a cover for it, because A, it's a classic, B, it's a single word title, which means we can do something interesting with the type, hopefully. And it's a stone cold classic that everybody knows. Of course, we know as Dracula as looking like this. This is
Bela
the best
Lugosi.
Dracula there's ever been. Yep, Bela Lugosi, the finest Dracula in my opinion. Others might know Dracula as this from the 70s, with his incredibly fake but fantastic teeth. Christopher Lee, of course.
Yep.
And then more recently, we've got the BBC place bang from a couple of years ago. He was a brand new Dracula that we had.
That was epic.
I thought that was absolutely brilliant, that Dracula.
Yeah,
I really was impressed. Yeah. So that's the Dracula that we know and love. But what we'll have more feeding into the book cover today is the real Vlad the Impaler. Of course, he was a real person, Vlad the Impaler, who lived in Romania between 1428, it's thought, and between about 1477. No one knows for sure. And here he is, and he's fantastic. Why we had to elaborate on what Vlad might have looked like, I don't know, because the guy is fantastic on his own with this curly hair, these ridiculously ornate buttons, and his fantastic pearl and crystal headpiece. Something hilarious going on with his moustache, and there's something slightly attitudey about that bottom lip, but it is, isn't it? It's, I mean,
it's rolled.
How amazing to be able to. Have you ever tried that, Tony? Have you done that?
No, because I don't like the centre part growing any longer than my top lip. I can't bear it.
I mean,
so
this is
it's only the bits
controlled.
on the side for me that are long. I can roll those, but it wouldn't be as epic as that. That's a full roll. So he's let that grow down to about.
It is epic, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't know whether he drank blood, but we do know that he impaled his enemies upon spikes, alive or dead. That's well documented. And,
not very kind to messengers.
No.
Do you know that?
No, tell me.
A messenger came to his court and refused to remove his hat.
Yes.
He was ordered to remove his hat, and he said, "No, I prefer to keep my hat on." And so Vlad had the hat nailed to his head.
It's a solution, I mean, people
well, it's not going to come off in the wind.
It's not, no, and he wouldn't throw the parcel over the fence, would he, if you were out?
No.
So
anyway, happier things.
That's some of today's inspiration. The cover, just to rattle through some covers, the book has been done to death, excuse the pun, ha ha ha. But
see where you go.
1931 version of Dracula, it doesn't really need to say much apart from this. Here again, we've got that beautiful cloth binding, the black and red, and just the lettering saying everything it needs to know. So some of the inspiration coming from this one, and then a slightly more illustrated cover here. We have this one again using a bit JPEG, a bit bitmap, sorry, sort of lovely red again. There's lots of blood red, of course. And then what I presume was once upon a time a gold emboss. And then we're obviously very familiar with covers that look like this. The fully made up woman wearing a necklace lying in her bed.
As you do.
She did. Well, I do. I don't know about everybody else. I keep my bright red lipstick on when I go to sleep, don't you, Tony?
I do, actually. I have to put it. I don't put it on until Sharon's gone to sleep.
Oh, I know
she finds it alarming.
Well, you're rolling over in the night and seeing that, and then I could have put in, 40 different versions of Dracula, but a more modern one here is even Edward Gorey has done a Dracula, so I thought it was about time. So I'm going. I'll tell you
what. With the first two instances you had there. On them,
the
relationship. The only thing that bothers me is the relationship between the A and the C in there. So there's only one that's got even passable kerning. So the A and the C there have fallen out, as they have identically on the next one. So
you're right. It's here, isn't it? It's this gap. It is awkward.
And there it is
again.
And
the same. In fact, it actually looks like exactly the same.
The same thing, different, but
but applied to a different colour. Because if you look at the there's a dot between the Bram and the Stoker, and it appears again on that cover.
Dust cover.
Yes.
Or is it?
Well, hard to say because they're both sort of embossed.
Actually, that might be a more expensive edition because it has that front plate engraving on it. So that might be that sort of director's cut.
Indeed. Well, yeah, the gift edition. Well spotted. I haven't seen that.
I can't. As soon as I see them, I can't ignore them. It's just like
Well, you can't unsee them, can you? They're in your mind.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick to a red background for this, and one of the things I want to do is we're going to create this cover as if it was brand new as best we can. And what I always say about working on one of these covers live is I'm not trying to create a cover that's completely finished and is good enough to send off to print. We haven't got the time for that today. So the way I would describe these is we're basically creating a cover which is what I would call a really good quality rough. So an excellent quality rough to show the client what the artwork actually will look like. So I'm going to start with a juicy red. And I'm just going to flood the background with that and see how that works. Now, what I've got on screen here is, this is a template that I've set out for a book cover. So it's quite realistically laid out. We have the front on this side and we have the left. We've also got a realistically set spine. The spine is measured to go with, it's kind of taken from this book in my hand here, this beautiful embossed one. So the spine width is taken from this book here in terms of a realistic proportion, but the shape of the book is actually taken from this one here to be sort of period appropriate as a late 1800s sort of gift edition. And I always put plenty of bleed on. We're not considering flaps. We would sometimes have wraparound flaps for this kind of book, but just allowing a centimetre either side and plenty of spine, which we cut down if we need to. And I'm working in RGB, even though actually, of course, the print, the artwork would go off as CMYK.
Do you still have people insisting on that?
Usually they expect them, yeah. It's been a while since anybody's picked me up on it, because I tend to send them in CMYK but as standard. Occasionally I'll forget and I'll just send the RGB file, and occasionally it's come back saying, can you switch that for us and adjust any colours? There was a book recently that had an awful lot of greens, like apple greens, and real sort of neon shades, and they all went very, very dirty. Yeah. So that needed amending. Yeah. They wrote back and said, can you sort that one out? Okay. So let's think. The best place to start is, we have a particular brush that a real pen that I like to use, which I'm just going to show you. This pen here. I don't know if you can see that large photograph of a parallel pen. It's called a parallel pen. It can also be called a witch pen. The pen at the top is a William Mitchell nib pen, and the pen at the bottom is a Pilot Parallel. And what that means is it just has this very flat, wide metal nib that creates the sort of Gothic lettering that you might be familiar with if we're talking about sort of Gothic or dark horror inspired cover. The ink you see in the background there, by the way, is called Writer's Blood. It's a new ink I've just acquired. It was appropriate to drop some of that in.
Literally, just there.
Yeah, I have dropped some on there, but that would be good to show the Writer's Blood. So that's the pen we're trying to create, and I'm just going to show you what that pen looks like when it's in action. This is from a previous Adobe Live, but this is what that pen looks like and how it behaves, because I'm going to try and recreate that pen for myself in a moment. So here's one I made earlier. So you can see the pen is almost like drawing with it is literally actually drawing with a flat piece of metal, in this case about 6 millimeters wide. They come in all widths. I've got a 1.5 mil, I've got a 3 mil, but this is the 6 mil. And you can see how it creates that very dramatic slab appearance with very narrow horizontal strokes, very wide vertical strokes.
Super black letter.
Yeah. Freestyling it a bit here, so it's, it wouldn't pass any calligraphy classes. And I've never quite found a nib. I've never quite found a nib that works exactly the same way. So just.
And who's the manufacturer of this one again? Who's this?
The one I'm holding in my hand there is a Pilot. It's a Pilot pen. Yep. It's actually here. So you can see that, Tony. If I hold that up to the camera. So there it is. That's it.
Nice.
And you feel it's got a reservoir, so it's it's endlessly reusable. So I decided I would try and create that pen for myself. Make the title. You'll see all the way through here, by the way, that I'm using lots of different layers. I absolutely love using layers, and it's important to label each layer, everyone, it's a tiny discipline, but it helps you out of a tight spot. If you're 250 layers deep and someone says, can you take out the sheep in the background? You need to be able to identify sheep number 47 at a moment's notice. So I'm going to create this this brush for myself. I've just got a black ink, and I'm going to draw a straight line using a bog standard brush. Let me get the bog standard brush. Okay, I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to nip off the edges like that. So they're roughly parallel. And then I'm going to make that my brush preset, and we're going to call that Drac, of course.
Yep. Your car's ready, by the way.
Oh God, I've switched that up. We should be in airplane mode. Right. It's not my car.
I just thought I'd let you know, just in case.
Thank you. I'll go and get it later. Get it later. So now we have a brush that we can use that kind of, at the moment it's not functioning the way it should. So we go into settings and we can alter that. Anybody who's ever made a brush will know the settings are crucial. Shape dynamics. We want smoothing. I can also change the. Okay, that's not working quite as it should. So we get, basically we want it to work smoothly like this, so we have a nice glide. So if we change this, turn the spacing up, it kind of, you can see as it drops every copy of it. If we turn that spacing down, we get a nice smooth flow.
Yeah. Annika is asking, by the way, in the chat, if you ever sketch out your lettering first before you ink it.
Or most of the time, it depends actually what I'm doing. If it's quite ornate and it has to fit a very specific area, or there's quite a lot of feedback from the client, then I will definitely sketch it out first, because a lot of the time the client wants to see exactly how it's going to look. And then that becomes essential to have something to show to the client before you've actually committed it to paper. But with a parallel pen, and with a lot of pens actually, if you try and pencil it out first, it becomes rather stiff and rather sort of not very spontaneous. And then you can get the feedback which kind of says exactly that, it doesn't look like the rough. So a lot of the time I'll just go straight in with the ink, but I will explain to the client that it can be changed. We can alter this. It's just that you're seeing a sketch now that gives you a rough indication, and usually they're happy with that, but not very often. I don't sketch all that often, and as I say, unless it's something really quite detailed. Just doing myself some guidelines here because we want our title to sort of climb across the cover and diminish slightly towards the end. So just giving myself some guidelines. So with this one, I am actually going straight in with the parallel pen tool, making sure that it's exactly the right angle. I'm sure somewhere Kyle Webster has a brush that's exactly like this.
Oh, probably.
It's kind of more fun to make your own.
It is, and you literally make it your own.
Yeah, customize it. So we're going to go in. I'm going in really roughly here and just bashing out what will be the main thing on the title here. one of the things I find really interesting actually is just this process of recreating what I do with ink in Photoshop, or even sometimes with Illustrator. Illustrator is not my native language. I love it, but I'm still not, I'm still only sort of 10% of the way there, really.
It's a big beastie.
It is. It's lovely. It does amazing things, but we're still sort of casual acquaintances, if you like. So just starting to shape this out. I've got an idea of where I want it to go, and who knows if we'll actually get there, but I'm gonna try. So I'm holding down the Shift key to get those straight lines, because I could not possibly get the line that straight without the assistance of the Shift key.
Yeah.
In case anyone is needlessly impressed. We're going to go back and tidy some of these bits. We've got bits at the bottom here that are a bit weird. We're going to go in and tidy those up later. The main thing is to try and get the main feel of this lettering down reasonably spontaneously without sort of labouring it too much, so that we're not sacrificing. You see, we're full of the right kind of puns today. Sorry.
Steve in the chat, by the way, is saying just tweet Carl and he'll tell you if you want to know if he's got a particular word to tweet.
I will. Yeah, I'm sure he will have, and it probably behaves better than this one. That there's still an amazing thrill about getting your own brush made.
Do you know, here's the thing, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that Dracula, the text, is in the public domain, right? So
yes,
you can go to something like Project Gutenberg and download that text. Now, there are provisions around that because you need to make sure that you're not using their particular transcription and whatever, or translation. Mm-hmm. So you may have to work with that. But essentially, anybody could create an ebook of the text of Dracula and put it on a bookstore. Yeah, really. Now, faced with the fact that there could be many, many, many copies of the text of Dracula, you're going to base your buying decision, on the cover that you like.
You are.
So if you do yourself a half, and this could apply to anything, any out of copyright public domain text, it's worth doing.
I think it is.
Tons out there.
I think it is. And why wouldn't you as well? I had no idea about that. I know I was reading quite recently, I was listening to a podcast actually quite recently about how basically Bram Stoker invented the vampire as we know it. If it wasn't his story, which kind of apparently was the result of a dream, a fevered dream one night, we wouldn't have the vampire as we know them. Before that, there was the story, the historical story of Vlad the Impaler, but the actual sort of night hunting vampire did not exist before Bram Stoker. Think of all the Halloween costumes we wouldn't have.
True. Yes. That was when the Shift key bites just then.
Oh, it does bite. Yeah.
I like these letter forms, the way they're shaping up.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not too bad. They're kind of going the way I want them to. In a real situation, this would be absolutely fine for a rough. We would ideally, if we went back to this as a finished piece, we'd have the letter widths would be absolutely identical on each one. We would make sure the spacing is perfect, as we've just touched on, and we'll go back and sort out those little bits out. But for now, we're kind of hashing it out. Let's see. I'm going to put in a little. Where's more space? A little tiny bang here.
Ooh.
You've got to, haven't you? You've got to.
Mm.
Bog standard drawing.
Well, is the A going to be a streak of some sort of liquid?
Yes.
Very, very hyperextended.
Of course it is, Tony.
Excellent.
We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're
no,
trying to pay homage. Paying homage.
No.
I read a very, very contemporary kind of retelling, kind of graphic novel of Dracula recently, and absolutely gorgeous. I could imagine it really annoying the purists though, because it was very, very sort of contemporary and a bit sexy and a bit, lots of naked women. Okay. Okay. Where are we? Should have something creepy playing in the background, shouldn't we, really?
Yeah. Ooh.
Although I was just writing up some notes for this last night, and Lee had gone out for the evening, and I can't tell you how many creepy noises were coming from the room behind me. The room behind me, where you can see the parcel waiting for collection, and he's bound to come while I'm on air, of course. But that room there was just emanating so many creepy sounds. It's like, there it is.
Spooky music. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. It's like more like the Count from Sesame Street, but we're okay with that. Do you remember the Count from Sesame Street?
Yes, I do. Do you know, when I was creative director at Kingfisher Graphics, I used to bomb it home to my apartment for lunchtime, so that I could watch Sesame Street, because there were two things I really loved, which were the Count and also the Wall Monsters. I don't know if you remember the Wall Monsters. There were two sort of monsters. They both had one half of a word each, and they just used to keep smashing these words together while saying each half.
Oh God!
And it used to crack me up. It was my happy place. If my girlfriend was at home, she would have. Yeah. Oh, the Wall Monsters are great, but the Count, of course.
Oh.
I was working on Halloween themed project yesterday, and I had Phantasmagoria by The Damned on
brilliant
that album.
One of my favourites of all time.
Well, I used to follow The Damned around. So
did you? What, in a kind of stalkerish way, or in
a kind of stalkerish way? Yeah. No, Captain Sensible and I jammed at a recording studio, the Regal Studios in Hitchin, no longer there now. Okay. Years and years ago, I was there painting some flight cases for another band just before their American tour.
Okay.
And everybody had gone out, and I was tinkering around on the piano, and he was in, because they were playing in the area as well, and we had a bit of a jam. Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was cool.
It's been amazing.
I love Ray. He's awesome. Awesome bloke. But no, I had that album on yesterday, because even though it's not like the most popular in the Damned's history, in fact, there's a picture from that day. I feel obliged to show it to you.
Oh, please do.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Is that you?
Yeah.
With the mean eyebrows.
I know, I've had them lasered to bits.
Lasered to bits.
Lasered to bits. Cookie Monster as well. Oh yeah, Cookie Monster. I forgot about Cookie Monster. Cookie.
Honestly, see, we wouldn't have the Count if it wasn't for Bram Stoker. And I mean, I don't know where the Cookie Monster came from. Some fevered, the word acid springs to mind, but you know, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to copy the A that I've already done.
Nice. It's not cheating. That's
because
being productive.
we can do that. We can maximize our time, and we can do that. So I'm going to slice this out.
So the agency, JKR, I'm pretty sure it's JKR, which are at Camden Lock. They have the building that was formerly the Jim Henson Muppet Workshop. Up there. And so all of their meeting rooms, which are gorgeous, by the way, are named after Muppets, and they've all got an original Muppet in them. So there's like...
Fantastic.
You turn up for a meeting and they'd say, oh, you're in Waldorf and Statler today. And you go there and there'd be those two guys in the corner in their little box. Or you're in Fozzie Bear, or you're in, it's great, great place.
Fozzie.
Yeah.
To be 6 again, or 5, or... Oh, by the way, guess which goon has worked on the guideline layer? I have worked on the guideline layer. So we have to now delete the guide.
Fix that. Change the blend mode to multiply, and that guideline had disappeared.
Good point, because it's going anyway. Hang on, let's undelete it. Let's just demonstrate that. Yes, Tony is right. Okay, we have now, this is the title. So you can see that under pressure, I have drawn over my guideline rather than over the top of it on a separate layer. And yes, we're gonna multiply this anyway. So interesting.
Oh, is it grey?
It's grey, not white. Never mind. We have this amazing selection tool.
Do a levels adjustment on it, or just do levels and go.
Gone.
But anyway, it's gone.
There we go. Correct this label. Okay, so there's the basis of the title as it looks now. So I'm just going to have a quick whiz through very quickly, tidy it a little. I guess when I was thinking about this cover, I was trying to think about just how perfect things would or wouldn't be at that time in publishing, whether because there was time, because books were produced much more slowly, whether actually the production values, the attention to detail would be higher, or whether in fact it would actually not be as high because of perhaps not having digital means. There's no way of knowing really, unless you were able to sort of find somebody who worked in that field. So it's kind of...
Well, back in the day, if you were a graphic designer back right up until the 1960s and 70s, you would have had to have been a member of the Society of Lithographic Artists and Design Engravers. I know. Mad.
And were you?
Slade. No. I had the membership form, but somebody said that's on its way out, mate.
Oh. and that was that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's not looking too bad. It's
good.
We're not finished yet. I'm going to add some more, and I am going to work on layers this time, and not forget work over our. Hit the save button. We've definitely
Don't be too
got
hard on yourself. You're doing this in front of people, while you're talking, so it's good.
I can't see anybody, so it's as if I'm just doing it for you, Tony.
Excellent. I love that thought. That's great. Yes, I'm in private audience with you just drawing away. Great stuff. Love it.
Let's just try and sort out these. It's not the sort of thing a client would pick up if you sent this to them as a rough. That's unlikely they would fire back the first feedback and go, wow, those line widths are way out. Can we please do something about that? That's not likely to happen. But somewhere along the line, if I left them like this, someone's bound to pick up on it. Mainly me.
Michelle in the chat has come up with a Cookie Monster quote.
Yeah.
Today me will live in the moment unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat a cookie.
That's a classic. I just want to watch cartoons now. I want to watch children's programs.
I love this community.
I just want to be... Let's make the D a bit fatter. Okay, got to keep moving. Let's get rid of that little dinky bit there. Oh, I'm going to share, while I'm erasing, I'm going to share people watching are bound to know this already, just in case they don't know. I'm going to share one of the greatest tips ever given to me, ever, which was Tony's tip a few Adobe Lives back. And he taught me that if you can't find the eraser you want in your eraser collection, in your brush palette, you can take any brush you like. Let's take this one. I've selected the Comics Claw, again, appropriate for this subject matter. If you hold down the tilde key, and the tilde key is basically, it's above an apostrophe, and it looks like that shape. If you hold that down, let's hope this works now. Hold the tilde key down and it will erase with that brush. Even though it's not built as an eraser, it will erase for you in the style of that brush. Worth noting. An absolute game changer for me, that was.
Yes, just to the left of the Z key on an English keyboard. With the back tip. We got quite a lot of queries about that in terms of international keyboards, didn't we? Do you remember when I posted it? Yeah.
And we got.
I don't think it's accessible in that way in the German keyboard, you know, and I keep meaning to look that up.
Is it not?
So, no, it's not available on a German keyboard.
Okay, so I'm just going to add some additional line work here, just to fill this out a little bit. Okay. Hopefully on an alternative layer. There we go.
Viola likes my Cookie Monster boy.
I love that.
Tim's got all the tunes.
He does.
So talented.
They just kind of waft in.
Yeah, it's great. I'd go so far as to say that Adobe Live wouldn't be. I mean, it's the ones in Europe, because of Tim, are a cut above the rest. Because he just comes up with these things, poof, out it comes. Great stuff.
It doesn't wait, does it? He just gets on with it. You need this.
No. We never bigged Tim up enough, and we should, because he's great. You're great, Tim. And I know you can hear me, because I can hear you in my ear, sniggering. He's a good man.
There he is. More creepy music. So hopefully all these lines, yes, they're on a separate layer. Well done, Sarah. You remembered. Okay.
Love it.
Okay. Okay, so we've got the basics of that down now.
Amazeballs, says Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Now, of course, the correct spelling of Dracul in Vlad the Impaler's time had an accent over the A, which, for the purposes of this, I'm going to try and emulate.
Only on the last one, though, right? Just on the last one.
It's on the third one, apparently.
Is it? Oh, okay.
But maybe someone can check that while I create it. Perhaps someone can check whether that's on the first one or the last one.
Have a look in a bit. Of course, it would have been Transylvania then, and that would have been on the Hungarian, Romanian border.
Mm-hmm.
I only know one word in Romanian, and that's mulțumiri, which is thank you.
What does that mean? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is there any other word that you need, really? I mean, if you go into a foreign country and you're stuck, you're not sure what to learn.
Yeah.
You can get.
Thank you.
Hello
Hello and
lot.
thank you, basically.
Yeah, you can do a lot with those ones.
But you could get by with. I think they'd understand Russian for hi and whatever, so you could get away with that. But thank you is very different.
So there's a V-shaped accent, we think, over the A, but of course what's happened here is instantly I've done that and it looks like a bat. Well, I know.
Come on, make it a bat.
I'm going to. However,
Awesome.
I could sit here for about an hour trying to draw a decent looking bat, or we can do, here's one I made earlier. And I'm going to find him now, because why would we keep reinventing the wheel? I've got half a dozen bats somewhere, so we'll have him over the top. There we go. Oh yeah, we'll have these. Did anybody shed any light on whether it's actually over the first
I don't know. I can have a quick
or
search
the last
myself
day?
here,
Have a
actually.
look, yeah. Right, here's a bat. Here's a few bats I made earlier. We need the most V-shaped one. Do we want this one with the eyeball on the end, or do we want the one with the eyeball, or do we want one without? Not that we'll see the eye. Or perhaps this one in the centre, which is an obvious V-shape. I think perhaps we'll
it is like a circumflex, but it's upside down, and I don't actually know what that diacritical mark is called. So
like that?
Yeah,
like
so
that,
that's a
or like
circumflex, but this is an inverse circumflex, so it's that way. And
okay.
And I'm just saying inverse circumflex because I don't know what that diacritical mark is.
Oh.
So, but now I'm going to find out. So once I find things like that, I have to know.
If I can do that instead of, oh yeah.
That's the stuff. I used to work with bats. Not a joke.
No, I know you.
In the 1980s, when you were little, around about 1987, 6 and 7.
1987. I was older than you think at that time. Yeah.
Well, like 6. I worked for the Royal Society for Nature Conservation for 2 of their projects, one in Warwick, so I lived in Coventry for a bit, and so not far away from your old stomping grounds, really.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then later on in Derbyshire. And when I was in Coventry, I lived with a bat expert who worked at the same trust, and ended up going out and working with the bat groups. It's excellent. And then I continued that when I was in Derbyshire. Awesome. And I did the calendar for the bat groups of Great Britain in 1989.
That's amazing.
Nuts. I love that.
I know you've told me that before, and it's
I couldn't
wait. No, but you're telling the audience, which is good because they don't necessarily know. But it was when you told me that, I couldn't wait to ring my sister. She said, how did the Adobe Live go? So, it went really well. Didn't tell her anything about the talk, didn't tell her anything about the work, anything like that. I just told her about what I'd learned about the guys that I work with who work with bats. And that's really what she was most interested in. There you go.
They are amazing. Some species can go from 4 beats per minute, 4 heartbeats a minute when they're torpid, to 140 in a few seconds. Incredible.
It is.
Just amazing.
And I love that word. Torpid.
Torpid, yeah.
Of course, there are days when
could handle them. So if you've got a tiny little pipistrelle, which is maybe about as big as your thumb, and they look like little doggies, little tiny doggies. And when they wake up, they're trying to crawl for warm spaces. So they'll try and crawl towards your armpit to get all warm and nestle up there. And that's when they're in their torpid state, a state of torpor.
Gosh.
Lovely things.
Essential to us. It sounds like, well, yeah. It also sounds like a state that we should all aspire to be in more often. Just be in
going from 4 to 140 beats a minute? Yeah.
Well, no, not that bit. Not that bit. I mean, that's proper.
Torpor. Yeah.
That's like oh my God, what was that? Or running for the bus, isn't it? But but the state of torpor would be good for us now and again.
Yes.
Okay, so.
But not torpitude.
What's that? What's the difference?
That's like being lax. So on American visa and ESTA statements, it would ask you the question: Have you ever been? I think it's ever because it's a while ago. Ever been guilty of moral turpitude?
Oh yeah.
Which means doing immoral stuff or illegal things.
And have you?
Moral turpitude.
Yeah.
I was going to neither confirm nor deny that. It's for me to know and no one else to find out. No. Tim can go
Kind
from
of
40 to 140 heartbeats in 3 seconds when someone wakes him up before 9. Oh. Ah, Steve in the chat. Torpore, is that the Latin root of torpor?
Oh. And what does that mean?
Well, is it where the word comes from? Is it the etymology of the word? Being torporious has its place. Sure, of course.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea. I feel like I knew torpor, but the root is something else. Always a lesson when I'm.
Oh no, Steve was just kidding. Oh, Steve.
Steve.
Thought you were giving me something to look up then.
So to let you know what I'm doing now, I have turned on the symmetry tool. I love the symmetry tool. And I've turned it to dual axis because I'm going to create a little motif that sits in the center here that we can move around. So again, sort of inspired by the old books and the ornate motif. So I put it on dual axis symmetry, which means it will draw on all 4 corners. And I'm going to move that where it needs to be.
I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but what I really like about the arc of your text there is it looks like a recumbent, like a neck that's sloping, arching backwards to me. It's like a, you know, that.
I didn't spot that, but I'm impressed that you did.
That's what it says to me.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, it's your skill. You.
So I have made this brush already in practice, but I'm going to, inspired by Romanian textiles, because of course we're talking about a guy that lived and killed and impaled in Romania. I'm going to just show, I looked up some of these beautiful Romanian textiles. These are authentic patterns created by a Romanian textile artist, but they're based on historical ones. And you can see that actually when you get close up, it's very sort of pixel arty. Each one of these would be a stitch or a thread, but the patterns themselves look very pixel arty. So it would be interesting to try and recreate something like that. So hence the symmetry. But what I'm going to try and do first, turn symmetry off. I'm going to create my own little pixel brush, make a square, fill it with black, and a define brush preset, and we'll call that pixel, Romanian pixel. And then I can pick that up, that brush, add it to my collection. And now that we have a pixel brush I can just dab with, get the symmetry on again, move that to where it needs to be. Let's hope this works. And take that brush, I can make it as small as I want, and start to recreate that textile pattern, which I'm going to open next to me so I can actually see what we're going for.
That diacritical mark, by the way, the upside down circumflex is called a caron.
How do you spell that?
C-A-R-O-N. So it's not like the angry woman meme.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Karen. Sorry,
Every
I have
day is
to
a
know.
school day. No, I wanted to know
Oh
as well,
man,
actually.
I'm sorry. I'm working on it. I'm working on every day not being a school day.
Partly why I do these, Tony. So I come away with so much knowledge.
I like acquiring knowledge personally, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. You know, some people. Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be your cup of tea?
Don't know. You only grow by learning, so you know.
It's very, very true. And change.
And ultimately, I don't have a pension, so so I'm basically banking my forward projection. If I ever stop work, I don't ever want to stop work, but if I do ever stop work, my forward projection is either going on the chase, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or robbing a bank. I don't know.
I did a radio show with a lady who was one of the people who do the chasing on the chase. That's the one where they chase each other around, isn't it? You get kind of put out into the wild. Is that the chase?
Oh, okay.
And they follow you through the woods. Is that the one?
Oh no,
or is that something else?
Not the chase.
Was that the hunt?
No, that's yeah.
Or Hunted or something like that. Is that right?
Hunted. Yes.
Hunted. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
There would have been a time I would have been up for that challenge, but that time is not now.
That's going to get your heart rate up.
Yes.
So there we have a simulated Romanian motif. Apologies if anybody is Romanian and they're looking at my simulation there. But you can see how amazing the symmetry tool is, because if these kind of textiles are anything at all, they are consistent and symmetrical. And so, inspired by that, I've used the symmetry tool to help get that regularity. Wouldn't bear too much close examination by a cross-stitch artist.
That's what's charming about it, though, right? Because those things aren't directly aligned to any sort of grid. Because what you're doing is you're simulating embroidery, right?
Yeah.
And that's given them some
very
real
loosely.
character.
Yeah. Okay, so properly freestyling here. Whoa, really wobbly, but you know, for the purposes of a rough, this will absolutely do.
Jan in the chat is saying this stream is so British.
Oh my God.
Who knew?
What does that mean? What does it mean?
Who knew?
Well, I mean, for one thing,
Niespodzianka, as the Polish would say, or quelle surprise, as the French may say.
I don't have any tea in front of me. I mean, that would surely I need it to be, you know.
So sorry, but I appear to have misplaced my monocle as well. I can't. How terrible. There's not even a washer around that I could use in place of it. There you are. A top hat, but a couple of meters away. I could use that, I suppose, if we needed to.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a broadly inspired by
love it,
Romanian Textiles. I'm just going to reduce that a little bit. It's in there. And the next thing to do, obviously we're nowhere near finished. Hopefully we have time, but I want to add in, of course, the author's name.
We've got half an hour. We're good.
Okay. Well, you know how we can fill that easily, Tony. Half an hour goes by in the blink of an anecdote. So I'm putting bronze soap on here, and as you can see, I have deliberately chosen to begin with a font that's designed to look a bit. Where's my type window? Maybe it's out already.
The character panel.
It's out. It's out. And it's not. There it is. It's hidden between screens. So I've gone for a font that's cheesy because it's that kind of classic, ooh, horror movie, this looks ancient, Wicker Man type font. And of course, it's not appropriate for this kind of book because this is a very modern font that's been made to look as if it's old and worn and wobbly. And that's not what we want because we're imagining that this book is brand new. So I'm now going to go to it's called Blackbeard, which I think is brilliant. I'm off to Adobe Fonts. And we're going to choose a font. Now, I did a bit of research because trying to find exactly the right sort of font proved pretty difficult because we're remembering that I'm actually, for the purposes of the author name, I'm trying to channel, I don't know if you can see in the tiny picture at the bottom, but I'm trying to channel this lettering here, this sort of, although this is definitely a font and I can see where the letters are joined on this cover, we're going for something like this. So very, what we now think of as a slightly cheesy, old-fashioned cursive would have been pretty luxurious and radical at that time. I think it's really interesting. I don't know if you can see it, Tony. You can see the joins in the letters. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Where it's like each individual lead thing has been popped on.
Crazy skilled.
Yeah. Now then, I did a bit of research earlier.
Yeah.
And looked for one which was broadly appropriate. So I'm going to do what the my shift button is wearing out. I must do a lot of.
Do you ever use the tags on the left-hand side to search through?
I have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite difficult actually. I found the one I fancied in the end by clicking the wedding tag, and that's where it showed up. So I'm putting in Bram Stoker so I can immediately see what that's going to look like, which is one of the brilliant things about the Adobe fonts. And I went into wedding and started looking through these, and there's a ton of them. I mean, things like this one here, Sloop Script, just looks dreadful in capitals, but there are actually plenty of choices. Some are just not designed. I mean, wow, that just looks hideous as caps. Obviously, in a real situation, I could just completely develop my own lettering or font for this. But for the purpose of this exercise, we're going for Reducer. Let's try lowercase Bram Stoker. And that's not a bad match for the one that we're looking for. So I'm going to activate that as a font. And then fingers crossed.
The internet gods allowing. So good though that you can just.
Let's find. There it is. Oh gosh, I love it. So I'm going to hastily turn that to lowercase, and we'll make it black so it's nice and legible as well. Okay, so there it is. We only have it in regular, which is interesting. So although, I've kind of cheated. I've gone for a lettering style, a font that I've downloaded, and normally I would probably sit there quite slavishly with a fountain pen and try and recreate that myself. But actually, for the purposes of this sort of historical look that we're going for, that's about right. So I'm just going to get in there and have a look at what this is looking like. In order to manipulate it slightly, I'm going to rasterize it.
Oh, no. Try adding a stroke as a layer style. Give that a go.
Oh, okay. Go on then. This sounds new.
Yeah.
Talk me through this, Tony. I had a different plan.
Okay. So go to that layer in the layers panel. Add a layer style to it. So double click in the empty area off to the right of the word there. Okay. Go to stroke. And actually click on the word stroke. That will give you the categories on the side. So there you go. And just dial in a bit of a stroke and just see if that increases the. Wait, that doesn't appear to be doing anything, does it?
Do I have to rasterize it first?
It's on the inside. So just underneath on position, change that to outside.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at this, is amazing.
You might have to go down to something like just one would probably work really, really well, because it's not going to distort it too much and it will honour the actual shape. There you go.
This is new. This is a new thing that I haven't done before. Again, one of the wonders of doing an Adobe Live, you learn things. Now that,
and it also keeps the type live. That's not bad at all, is it? Keeps the type live. So if you then submitted it to the client and the client said, that's very good, but it's actually Brimstoker, for example, then you don't have to go and repeat a load of steps.
That's really good. I really like that. And I didn't know you could play with type in that way without rasterizing it first. Okay, I'm going to see, can I transform?
Yes.
I can skew it, which is what I want, without rasterizing. Brilliant. So I'm just trying to make this roughly kind of in alignment with the title of it, without kind of crushing that type up too much. It's probably on the verge of a little bit illegible now, but it's at the right angle, but it's legible. It's there. Okay. And there is a tiny bit of that lettering that I hate. That bit there, look. Ugh.
Oh, right. Is there an alternate character for it? So you
find out.
Try. Well, yeah, just highlight that character. Just wondering if there would be an alternate for that. Because Photoshop doesn't have a glyphs panel, does it? I can't.
No, I don't think so.
No. It does. So you might find, and if you change that to, so where it says entire font, change that to alternates for current selection. So at the top of that grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it will show you if there's any alternates.
If there's any, there normally are.
Yeah.
Okay, not to worry. Yeah. Anyway, another lesson, another great lesson in tweaking. Thank you, Tony. That's great. So we're kind of
sorry.
So we're at the point where we've got everything.
Oh, Tim's just dropped in on the chat and said maybe the S has one. I wonder if there might even be, depends on the font, but you might have a ligature for the two. Unlikely, but
Tim's curious. Tim's curious about the S.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if there's an alternate for that, but it appears not.
No. It's a little bit limited, isn't it?
It depends on the font, It depends on how much the font designer has put into it and said, right, well, we're going to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was designed by Thomas Finney, it'd have everything.
We can recreate that layer and we can rasterize it so that we can completely muck about with it, leave that original type there intact, so we can come back to it if we need to. But we can do things like this. We can go in there and we can just kind of butcher it, make it a bit more, drop cap like this. I don't actually like that S either personally, but we can fiddle with it, which if you're doing things by hand with a pen, of course you can get all your fiddling right before you even introduce it to the document. But I don't actually mind the way that overlaps the M there.
Yeah, no, I think it's
maybe cool. A client would. So I'll leave that.
Steve in the chat is saying about the Gary Oldman Dracula movie. Wow.
Oh yes.
That was the 90s, wasn't it?
It was. I went to see that as soon as it came out. I was at college with my friend Melanie, and I went to see that, and just speechless afterwards. It was amazing. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Okay.
That's good. And earlier, actually, in the chat, Stephen was talking about the origins of the name Dracula, which actually means dragon. Dracul is dragon, and he was given that name before fighting in the Middle East.
Who knew?
I believe.
Had no idea.
I didn't know that.
No. So I'm going to create, again, I'm looking at having studied all of the books around me in detail. One of the things, we've got a very, very, very plain border at the minute. So I'm just going to add a slightly ornate, very freestyled border, which I'm just going to create and then repeat to finish off the border. And then the last stage, there's one thing I want to do if we've got time before the end, hopefully we will, is create some marbled end papers to go in our book.
Nice.
Even though a little trick that we can do without having to get messy with oil-based paints. And so I'm literally nothing fancy here, just freestyling with it. Basic.
Just while you're doing that, it's a good time for me to remind our community here that you can carry on the discussion after this stream, and indeed all throughout the week, day and night, if you want to, on our Discord channel. And there goes the link into the chat right now. So you can have a look at that. Join in there. It's a great place to go.
So
I like your little details.
Some very, very crude freestyling going on here.
I love it. So I bought a couple of, as you well know, because you shipped them for me, I bought a couple more of your prints.
Yeah.
This last week.
Yeah.
And you always pack loads of tiny little things in with those, and I bought some badges and whatnot.
I try.
Pins. You do. Oh, just a wonderful experience. And you get a hand drawn. I got a hand drawn leaf in mine this time.
Yes,
and
I've been putting those
all.
in. Putting the leaves in. I like the leaves. I did a few. I did them for a project, and I enjoyed doing them so much. And when the job was finished, I just went back and started making loads of leaves. I couldn't stop making them. It was a really soothing process. I never really do anything like that where it's just, I'm just going to do this for the sake of it because it's fun. Usually it's, it's quite pressured. Everything's to a deadline. If it's whenever something's done, it's straight on to the next thing. But I think I must have spent about 4 hours just sitting there making these leaves. And then, of course, I didn't know what to do with them. I had no idea what to do with them. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to...
I keep all the little bits you send me. In fact,
That's
if
nice.
I was in Studio B, right, you can tell when I'm in Studio B, because right, Studio B and Studio C look exactly the same. Although there are slight differences. If I'm in Studio B, behind me on the shelves, which will be over my left shoulder, there's one of your postcards that you did in 2017. You sent out 4 postcards over the month of December.
Good Lord. Oh, those.
Gold, yes. One with a little gold wren on it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that was...
So you can tell which one I'm in that one.
They were done on my little Japanese printer, the Gokko printer. Okay, so lots of lazy, but convenient and very quick.
It's not lazy, it's efficient, it's workflow. By the way, Steve in the chat is saying you should do a weekly Behance stream just to keep the awesome going.
Oh, bless him. That's a very, very kind thing to say. I love that. I'm totally enjoying it.
Sarah will be back next week, won't you?
I will. I will be back next week. Yeah. I'm just very hastily filling in this border because I really want to get to the marbled end papers if we can.
Cool. Okay. I'm streaming on Friday, 10 o'clock UK time. If anybody's interested, just so you know.
We are all interested.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night times, so do that for the American audience as well.
That's nice.
90 minutes.
Whoops.
Willem Dafoe was a creepier vampire. Excellent.
What was he a
actor.
vampire in? What was the vampire film that he was in?
Was it in that? Actually, I can't remember. I mean, fantastic actor anyway. But maybe somebody will drop that in the chat. Which one he was in? Was it Day Into Night or whatever it was? I can't remember now.
That's not familiar. Tell you what,
Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, of course.
No. That's the title I was looking for. Shadow of the Vampire.
Not seen it.
Me either.
All right. So I tell you what, I'm going to leave. I could work on this cover for hours to come, and we're still not finished. I'm going to very quickly show that I would have the next stage would be to go to Adobe Stock and add a texture.
Yes.
A kind of a book texture like this. And
yes. Nice cloth weave. Love it.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe actually that's better. So this would be the next stage of kind of finishing that look, sort of getting that texture on there. I'm just gonna and just sort of giving that impression. Again, Adobe Stock's just brilliant for quick, I need something. Where am I going to get it from?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to put the border together with that border. I'm actually going to jam those together, and we will pretend that they are yellow. Well, we're pretending actually that they're gold, of course. And then hopefully I'll still have time for a little marble.
Love it. So we've got about 9 minutes to go. We're all good. Everybody's loving this, by the way.
We might manage it then in that case. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Jackie's asking, would you make many refinements to make a final cover?
That it's a good question, and the question is partly dependent on what the client was asking me for. We could have no feedback from the client, or we could have an endless stream of feedback from the client, which would result in lots of changes. Personally, yes, there's quite a lot I would want to do to this before I would consider it finished, but it's that kind of meditative kind of messing around that we don't have time for on the live stream. You know, it's that's the part that we kind of miss out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's also the interesting bit as well, because it's the tiny tweaks that make the difference between it being a little bit crude and not quite finished to, oh, crikey, there it is. And it can be the tiniest thing that makes that difference. So I'm now going to make an end paper. So end papers for the front and back inside of the book. This is something I learned to do recently, and I hope it works. So I've got a watercolour brush on a black background. Let's hope this works, and a fairly bright. Yep. I think I need something with a bit more meat on it. Let's go for that one. Okay, so I'm just going to make what looks like, we're imagining that I'm kind of dropping ink down onto a page like this. It looks incredibly crude, and that's because it is. Let's get inky one. Get a bit of red in there. Okay, and we're done. No, we're not really. Just get one more. Let's use that lovely comic. That comic claw brush. So we're just making some wild patterns. There we go. And then I can go to liquify.
There we are.
And in this panel, I can, well, basically, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be doing this. So in the liquify panel, I can choose how big I want the sort of marble effect to be. That's massive, obviously. We want this to be reasonably subtle. We can play with all these things to basically marble our paper. And so the bits that look crude and silly suddenly disappear and start to look like something resembling marble paper. And it's such an easy trick. I do like marbling paper for real, but this is incredibly satisfying to do, and it's quite therapeutic as well, especially if you do it on someone's face.
Ever so slightly, like I like doing acrylic pours as well. Do you?
Yes.
Do that?
I've never done one, but I've got a friend who does them a lot and sells them, and they just look amazing. And the more you stir, the more sort of madly mixed you get. I love it. So I can do this all day. Okay, so we're going to pretend that's done.
Oh, top tip from Tim, and I did not know that, Tim. If you check pin edges when you're in liquify,
let's go
you don't
back.
get the alpha creeping in from the sides. Yeah, so in the dialogue we've got pin edges, top right, just underneath the rate.
Let's put that to
then
the
you
test.
won't get that alpha creeping in from the side.
You're correct.
That is a top tip, Tim.
Top tip, Tim. TTT. Top tip, Tim. There's our marble paper.
Go.
And then the final stage. The final stage I would make to that is just to desaturate it slightly, so our colours don't look too ridiculously sort of modern and straight off So what I'll do when the talk is completely, after this is all over, I'll put the book together, I'll finish it off and I'll put the book together as a 3-dimensional book, so you can see how it might look as a real thing, and I'll complete the spine as well, which obviously we haven't got time for today. Finish off that border and put it up for people to have a look at, so you can see. I've got a great template which I'll just open now. This is a useful thing. I don't know if people know about this. You can make your own, but also you can actually download these amazing templates which allow you to drop in your own book cover and make an instant, easy 3-dimensional representation of what that cover is going to look like. And I find this is a brilliant tool actually for sending roughs to clients, because it just takes out that leap of imagination for them. They can instantly see how that cover might look on a book. So I'll put it through this process. Maybe next week we'll have time for me to demonstrate putting that in and tinting the edges. But for now, that is as far as we have gone.
Love it. Oh, thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Really good. Really good. I love it. Absolutely love your cover. It's gone down really, really well in the chat as well. People really enjoying that.
Okay. Any questions? Having a great day.
So there we go. Great stuff. Thank you both, everyone. Where's the spine and back? You could do that in dimension, of course, but
what's dimension?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry yourself with it.
Okay. I should tackle the spine and back.
It was the precursor to, or it was the application before Adobe Substance Stager, which came out a few months ago as part of a separate suite of tools. It's not part of Creative Cloud. Dimension was part of Creative Cloud, but has been moved to the legacy apps.
Right.
Thing. So, yeah.
Yes, I always.
Thanks for a great stream. Great time. Time for a grape. That's Steve. So no, it's been great. Thank you. All of that amazing in just 1.5 hours. It's always great doing these. I love working with you. It's just so good.
And it's the usual case, Tony, where I've planned way more things to do, and I think we'd need about 3 hours actually to do
I'll see if I can get Emma to agree to that.
Okay.
We'll have a whole afternoon stream special.
Yeah. So we'll do it. We're doing it again next week.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got to find, obviously it'll be something along similar lines, different historical period, but definitely a historical period in publishing. So we're going to be looking closely at references and taking our cues from a particular period in time.
Yeah. Nice. Love it. Well, there you go, everyone. That's it for this Wednesday masterclass with Sarah. A massive round of applause for Sarah. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Really,
Thanks
really good
me.
stuff. And don't forget, you can join us on Discord. If you want to go ahead and chat with the community on Discord, do that. On Friday, midday, of course, someone out on Friday. I can't actually remember who's out on Friday. But Tyler Rocket, there we go, on Friday. So yeah, come along, join then. And from Sarah and myself and Tim, of course, in the background, it's cheerio for now. So take care, everyone. See you later. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Thanks for having me.